At last, the rescuer has become the victim. Sowore's rearrest is nothing but a recurring pattern of silencing voices from the South. The recent rearrest of activist and publisher Omoyele Sowore by the Nigerian police, despite a subsisting bail granted by a competent court of law, has once again raised deep questions about the state of civil liberties in Nigeria and whether the ongoing crackdown on decent minds disproportionately targets voices from the South, particularly the Igbo and Yoruba ethnic blocs. Sowore, a Yoruba journalist and pre-democracy advocate, has been one of the most unrelenting critics of government's authoritarianism. His repeated harassment by security agencies now seems to mirror what many Igbos have consistently accused the Nigerian establishment of doing to their own outspoken voices, most notably the likes of Nnamdi Kanu. Though Sowore and Kanu have fundamentally different ideologies and their own methods of application, their treatment by the state has revealed a disturbing trend. It reveals a justice system that appears to bend differently depending on who is speaking and what region they come from. That is what we are witnessing in Nigeria these days. This is entirely a clash not just against individuals, but against dissenting minds from particular regions. When Sowore was arrested the first time in 2019, he was justified. It was justified under the guise of national security. Nobody could talk much about that. Today, after being granted bail again, his rearrest is being justified on security concerns. The similarity in method. Whether against an Igbo separatist or a Yoruba activist, it exposes a bigger concern that the Nigerian state appears more threatened by dissent from the south than extremist elements elsewhere in the same country. Bandits in the north have negotiated openly with political leaders. Militants in some regions have been granted amnesty and integrated into the system. But Southern critics, activists, or agitators are often met with aggressive clampdowns, legal technicalities, and indefinite prosecutions. The contrast is too consistent to ignore. Definitely. What makes Sowore's rearrest even more alarming is that he had already been granted bail by a court, and ignoring bail orders weakens the judiciary and signals that security agencies answer to themselves, not to the rule of law, which is a dangerous trend in any particular society. It delegitimizes the justice system because if court's authority can be brushed aside without consequence, then the rule of law becomes an illusion in any given society. It sends a message to Southern activists that criticism will be punished, no matter how peaceful or lawful it may seem. It deepens existing suspicion of ethnic bias because for many people in the South, Southern region, for instance, show race ordeal appears to validate what Igbos have long said that the system is quick to suppress their voices, yet lenient with others who commit far worse crimes in other regions. Why should we begin to have this kind of treatment in the same land? Although this might not be an ethnic war, but an ethnic pattern. This moment is not merely about Sowore as a person. It is about what he represents. Sowore represents activism, resistance to authoritarianism, and the courage to challenge those in power. That is what she represents. His arrest is seen not just as a legal matter, but as part of wider political culture of silencing Southern dissent. Let us listen to details of what transpired after the court sitting that granted him bail.
We were still challenging the propriety of even the arraignment on the ground that you said people violated court order by protesting. We never heard of a constitution in this country, even despite all its defects, designating places where people should protest. If a protest is illegal, it is illegal. If it is not illegal, it is not illegal. You cannot say people can protest in that street, but they cannot protest in this street. And you are so confident that that will be justified. But today, the police were disappointed in judiciary. They have been masquerading themselves as law enforcers. They have been blackmailing the defendants that they protested against a court order. But what we witness in court today is a direct opposite of the propaganda they were selling to the public. Majority of us have already fallen into that propaganda. Majority of us are already accusing the defendants. Why did they protest when there is a court order? But what we saw here today was that the magistrate courageously granted bail. That is another of court. He gave a very liberal bail conditions. He said there should be 2 shorties worth 500,000 with tax clearance and a means of identification. The police were so disappointed, and I even heard that some of the people in Mufti here, they are senior police officers, they came to monitor the proceeding with about more than 50 police officers in this court. There were 2 roadblocks in the morning. The entire premises was cordoned off. At the end of the day, when they saw that the bail perfection was in process, CSP Iliasu led a brigade of police officers to come attack us together with all other lawyers and innocent people who were just in court premises to say they are good. The woman selling food here was handled. The table was destroyed. The food was destroyed. Sowore was bundled violently. People were holding his hand. People were holding his leg into that vehicle. In the course of that, some of us who ask questions, where are you taking him? In fact, CSP Iliasu brought a paper, which he called remand order. And we asked him to show us that remand order. He refused to show us. We asked him if you are taking Sowore to prison custody, on what ground can you do that? If he's not able to perfect the bail condition. And if he's not able to do that, and you are taking him, where are the prison officials? The prison officials will be here. Why must it be police? Why must it be you? In the course of that, they descended on everybody. I was injured. There was blood stain in my bib. This is my bib. We were manhandled, and Sowore's clothes was torn. And they forced him into their vehicle, and they took him away. As we speak, we don't know where he is, but we are still trying to follow up on the bail perfection. If you perfect the bail today, then we want the police to justify why, whatever reason they have, to keep him. This is illegality. This is injury. Yes, this is my injury. This is stain. This is blood stain on my bib. CSP Iliasu led them more than 50 officers. People were, in fact, a lawyer was here. In another matter entirely. He was arrested. People were arrested. People were trying to cover with their phone. Individuals who have cases in court were abducted. As we speak, we don't know where they are. And that is what the police institution have done today. They talk about court order. There's a court order now. They are like people are not respecting court order. But today they have come here to not just to violate court order, but to violate the sanctity of this premises. It's an embarrassment. And we call on the Attorney General. Because we know this is about Nigeria State. We call on the Attorney General. If the Inspector General of Police will not see reason, where they will not be reasonable in the face of any personal grievances they may have against or anybody, we call on the Attorney General to let sanity prevail. We call on the Nigerian Bar Association. They have come to destroy the sanctity of court. Police officers, they have come to violently the court sittings were interrupted. And this is a public outrage. Everybody here today is disappointed because it is not expected. We fight police and follow the law. If the magistrate had denied bail today, that would be a justification. If the magistrate had granted bail and the defendant are not able to meet up, that would be a justification. But this thing happened around to 11 when the court had granted bail in this city. That's what witness in court today. That's what witness. We call for the release of Omoyele Sowore. That is very, very important. We call for his release. We call for his release. We call on the Nigerian Bar Association too to rise up. We cannot continue to watch things happen like this. Otherwise, people will lose faith in judiciary. People will lose faith in court process. Thank you.
For those who we are thinking that Showore's action during the protest was a scheme to deliver Kanu's younger brother and his lawyer, I hope they can see what it has yielded for Showore himself. This is the aftermath of that protest. Whereas government, terrorist groups, and violent factions in other regions are handled with negotiations and compromise, civil activists in the south are treated like enemies of the state. The growing perception is that when northern insurgents speak, they are invited to a table. But when southern activists speak, they are dragged to courtroom or prison, as in the case of Showore now. Showore himself once told us that Nnamdi Kanu is being punished because he is an Igbo man. Today, he is facing the same persecution. Has he become an Igbo man? That's the situation. But the fact is that he is also from the southern part. Let us listen to what he said in the past. Please share and subscribe for more unbiased analysis to Newsrip.
If you are a Nigerian, you can get away with a lot of things. But if you are Igbo, Nigerian, you can't get away with a lot of things. Yes,
but you're not getting away with much.
Yes, but the odds are stacked against you because you're coming with zero, and they will do it to you. I mean, it was in this country that there's a Yoruba nation movement. They even went and hijacked a radio station last year. Did you hear of any trial? Did you hear of any arrest? I'm not using that. I'm not saying that should not be the case, but we must tell ourselves the truth. That it just doesn't look good that the Igbos are marginalized in every sector, including in the justice sector. To get a trial wrapped up in 10 years is that so difficult to do?
Certainly, it is a threat that but only to a region, not only to a region, but with our democracy. No matter one's political leaning, the message being pushed by this rearrest is dangerous. What it portrays is that peaceful activism is more of a threat to the government than armed violence. Today, it is Showore. Yesterday, it was Nnamdi Kanu. Tomorrow, it could be any other southern voice that dares to question government power. Where do we go from here? Nigeria cannot build a democratic future while selectively weaponizing the security agencies against critics from particular regions. It is not done. If the government wants to prove unity, fairness, and rule of law, it must start by respecting court orders and showing that that its approach to dissent is not rooted in ethnicity, region, or political discomfort. What is at stake is not just your race freedom, but the future of free speech, equality before the law, and the very soul of Nigeria's democracy. Thank you, and subscribe for more.